Captain's Log Supplemental. I've had to reprimand Henderson about how his shift leaves the bridge. Second shift is usually the troublemaker crew on any starship. No one wants them hanging around during evening social hours. As captain, I should be above such pettiness, but even I have people I don't like here. Anyways, Henderson likes to eat popcorn in my chair. No matter how many times I tell him, he never vacuums up those little bits that get all over the floor. That's why the dustbuster is on the chair to begin with. Well, today was the last straw, as my armrest was also sticky from whatever he spilled on it. I'd bust him back to ensign for that if I could. For now, an official reprimand on his record will have to suffice. Starfleet shouldn't have to tolerate sloppy command staff.
Welcome back, everybody, to Captain's Log Supplemental. I am Chris Emmerich, joined by Robertson Beach, and, well, we'll just call him Stanford.
Hi.
Evening.
I had time to say hi. You don't get to say hi, Rob.
Wow.
All right, so on today's episode, we will be talking about Enterprise, Season 1, Episode 4, titled Unexpected.
Episode 5, because the pilot.
Well, you know, it's part 1 and 2. Is really 2 episodes?
Yeah, well, but like we're going to keep it to the numbering sequence of the show itself so that it's as least confusing as possible.
But my streaming service has it as 4.
Does it? Mine said 5. Am I stupid?
Paramount said episode 5, but it is numbered 4 in the menu because it's the 4th, chronologically uploaded bit of video.
Yeah, gotcha. I think it's number 5 on like the wiki.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so we'll call it 1.5, I guess.
You mean 4.5?
No, like Season 1, Episode 5.
Got it. Okay.
So, we start Season 1, Episode 5 with a sexy Archer shower scene.
Mm-hmm.
Naked Captain, all right.
Naked Scott Bakula, who is just
so hairy.
Past his prime. Like that, like not bad yet. But he's like clearly like just over the top of that hump, you know?
Yeah. He's a manly, hairy individual, I'll say that. So anyway, he gets interrupted in his shower by the gravity plating going offline. And we get to see what really is a very serious problem for the elderly. He falls in the shower.
I think it's actually like because gravity stops working in the elderly showers too.
That must be it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, like, do they not have things to hold on to when there might be a gravity issue? Because I feel like that's a fairly common problem, right?
Well, especially in like Enterprise, right? This is like the first major starship thing. You know, you would think this is something they would think of at least before those systems are more reliable. But no.
Right, and like you would think... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like you can see it in the access tubes, the Jeffries tubes.
Sure.
They have it there.
Right, but like you would also think that showers would just have grab bars in general because, as you so eloquently just pointed out, people fucking fall and die in them all the time.
Right. Anyway, so we go on to breakfast time, which is a very popular scene, it seems like, in the early episodes of Enterprise. They're always eating.
They are eating a lot, aren't they?
There's like at least I feels like there's at least 2 meal scenes in every episode. Which
I feel like they go out of their way though to point out that T'Pol's eating broth at every meal.
A lot, yeah. Well, I mean, they really focus at least in the first several episodes of pointing out the differences in her disdain for human culture.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if part of the reason why they're always eating on Enterprise is because like it's a more Spartan ship, so there's just not any other places to hang out.
That may be.
Because like in Next Generation, they're always playing fucking music and shit.
Yeah.
Seriously, they had so many concerts on that goddamn starship.
Well, they had that whole the lounge area 10 forward.
Yeah.
Now the bar,
Yeah.
Anyway, so Phlox is trying to get T'Pol to try new things, and she's like, "Nah, dog, let me get some water." And it comes out black because it's not just the gravity that isn't working. So they go down to engineering, and There's some plasma exhaust issues causing problems all over the ship. Archer gets to play fireman for a little bit, and they drop out of warp.
Yeah, I have a question. If my ship is having a series of issues and has been having a series of issues for at least several hours, shouldn't I have dropped out of warp a while ago?
Look, we discussed this last episode. Enterprise is not big on following protocols, okay?
Nope.
It's just like if my car has a weird rattle in it, like that's weird. If it's got a weird rattle and then a humming and then like a smoke kind of starts coming into the cabin a little bit, I'm not going to continue to go down the highway at 80 hoping that I'll figure those problems out on the way.
Yeah, like clearly if your speedometer isn't working, you should not be driving a vehicle.
So back on the bridge, they do some sciencey things, do some scans and whatnot, and figure out that there's a ship that's surfing in their wake. So after some initial communication with them, they convince the ship to back off and find out that they're having some issues of their own. They decide to send old Trip over to do some engineering because, why wouldn't aliens need a human to come fix their engine?
But by himself?
By himself, yeah.
Why?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So Trip gets to do a little decompression fun times. He gets very nervous about it. And, he's breathing some different air and things. And he's calling the captain. And
right. This whole sequence bothered me for a couple of reasons, okay? One, they didn't really explain what is different about their atmosphere and shit. But, okay, there's something different. Can't they do that on Enterprise or on the shuttle itself? Like, depressurize or fucking simulate whatever he's going to end up in here rather than making him go do it in some, phone booth-sized airlock?
Without any warning, by the way?
Well, he knew he was in for a decompress of, 3 hours. He knew that ahead of time.
Yeah, but, nobody said anything. He's just sitting in there saying, hello.
No.
Yeah.
And then the gas starts coming in.
They said maintain your normal rate of respiration.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is because he calls up the captain who is annoyed, which I'm like, your fucking buddy is trapped in an alien airlock, and you're like, oh god, he's calling me again. She can fucking keep the comms open, talk to him, read him a book, play him some fucking music, send him over with Audible. What the fuck?
Archer is a man of action. He ain't got no time to coddle his engineering bitch, okay?
That's his best friend.
Man of action. He has things to do. He has to shower sexily. He has to play with Porthos. Man of action.
I just found, I did not find the 3-hour decompress a useful storytelling tool here. Because
what are you talking about? He got to play Simon Says. It was fun times.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but he lost.
He did lose. Yeah. So anyway, once he finally gets to decompression, the captain of the alien ship, which...
He comes out of the airlock, and my first note was, is their spaceship carpeted? Which the answer turned out to be yes.
It is. It is carpeted in grass. They mentioned that later on.
It's what the fuck 70s den carpeting is that?
The captain of the alien... Go ahead, Rob.
The whole spaceship reminded me of a kid's science museum.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I didn't think of that. It fucking does too.
The captain of the alien ship is trying to convince Trip that he needs to lie down for a bit because we're back to Trip tripping balls again. Which, by the way, fun fact: the captain, and I won't spoil it for Rob, but he does come back as a different character later on in the series. Did you know that, Stanford? Did you catch that?
I did not. Can you give me a hint?
He is one of the aliens, the main aliens from the enemy alien species in the main arc later on. Like the season 4, season 3, season 4 stuff? Season 3, yeah. Oh, I probably would not have recognized him. I mean, they're all covered in makeup anyways, right? I only caught it because of the voice, and I had no recollection of this episode all that much, really, besides the main parts of it. But sure. I checked it, and sure enough, it is the same guy. Which is, it's a very common thing that Star Trek likes to do. They like to have a lot of returning characters as different aliens. Yeah, it's called saving money. So anyway, Trip tells him to take a hike. He's here to fix some stuff and leave. And eventually he's like, yeah, I should probably lay down.
He doesn't though. He sits in that weird 70s circle bed thing.
He does. Yeah. It's a very ergonomic looking like 70s bed, right?
Oh fucking goddamn it.
Beanbag chair.
It looked like have you ever seen The Odd Couple, like the old one?
Uh-huh.
There was an episode of that one where like Oscar or Felix like redecorated the apartment in like this weird Art Deco like furniture, and there was like the chair looked like a potato chip. Like that's what that whole room reminded me
of. So when he wakes up, sexy alien lady is there to take care of him, sexily feed him water cubes, eat weird food off the walls. I mean, this is a true return of horny Star Trek. Because I mean, we took a bit of a departure from it the last episode. I think there wasn't much horniness, but it really came back in this one.
And as a direct quote, Trip goes, "Man needs a lot of fluids when he's under the weather."
So, Can I ask something?
You absolutely can.
What is up with the ice cube jellies? Why is that a thing?
Because they don't have water, apparently.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it's definitely not going to make sense in a few minutes.
They were talking about how they had protein replicators available. There are no proteins in water.
Right, so they had to create like the thing that comes closest to water. You know, I will say
H2O. We just have HOHOOH.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, that's the chemical formula for Jell-O. Maybe that's why, like, they needed Trip to come fix their ship because they actually don't know any science.
That must be it.
It's like we grew this spaceship from a plant and now it's not working. He's like, your trans coils are worn out. What's a trans coil?
We're not sure how to get home. We're just going to ride in this radiation wake behind your ship and try to, juice up off of it. I don't know.
They're like a hippie version of the Pac-Leds.
So now that Trip has been sexily nursed back to health, he's good to go and magically fix all the alien technology that's completely different from that of humans. But the core's got a regen. Go ahead.
That is a long-standing Star Trek tradition of just being able to instantly know how alien systems work. Although, interestingly, sure. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, which, is one thing, but also, like, at least with, like, a lot of the other examples, the technology, theoretically, there's some similarities.
Sure.
Like, I feel like this one in particular is pretty out there. I mean,
when they don't even have
they
water.
Provide you multiple examples of how different the ship is. It grows food. There's grass on the ground. Like, what is happening?
I find it particularly interesting because if you remember back in the first episode, in the pilot, they're like, we got to fly the fucking, I already forget the main bad guys' names, but we got to fly their little hex ship over. They actually spend a sequence, like, learning the controls of the ship. Something that no other Star Trek, to my recollection, ever did. They just kind of would sit down, look at all these weird ass things, and go like, "Oh, these are the thrusters." Click. So it is interesting that like it would make some sense if they were like, "Here, Trip, you've got 3 hours in decompression. Why don't you study this fucking technical manual they gave us?"
So anyway, they get the coils working or whatever, but they got to regenerate a little bit. So you got some time to kill. Time to visit Alien Holodeck.
Hell yeah.
So this thing was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool, yeah. Because we haven't heard her name yet, I'll continue to refer to her as Sexy Alien Lady, or Sal for short.
She was too. Like, all the uniforms on that ship were sexy. Like...
Sal decides to show old Trip to her home planet. Trip is, amazed by how great all this technology is. Everything seems so real. And then Trip and Sal get a little more friendly.
So what's their boat floating in?
Water.
It's liquid methane.
Yeah, that's what it is. Mhm.
I was like, oh, look, an ocean full of fucking water.
No, man, those were photons. I forget how they explain that.
Resequenced photons is the note I have, which means nothing. I don't think that means anything. I don't know what we're
They're
resequencing.
resequenced.
So,
I
like,
don't know what else you don't get. It's resequenced, okay?
Yes, okay,
You
so
got resequenced photons, you got resequenced proteins, everything. It's just resequenced.
When lasers hit your eye, right?
Oh, God.
If the first photon actually comes in third position, like it's actually a baseball.
Yeah, and it has
Listen.
physical contact with you now.
Right,
Like, it's
that's what
not
a
just
photon
light.
does.
It will punch you in the face now.
They messed with the message header on the packet, okay?
I
what it is.
really hope that we're at the point in this podcast where someone is listening to this and screaming about how resequenced photons work.
I'm sure. So Sal, they're in the boat floating in the liquid methane, and Sal decides it's game time, baby. It's time to put your hands in the sands.
I feel it obligatory to point out that this is rape.
Yeah, it's
100%.
It's
Look,
not
she
informed
didn't-
consent. There was no informed consent.
She thought it wouldn't matter. She didn't realize they were compatible, okay?
I'm sorry,
She
it's
informed
still
him it was a
sex.
game.
What is happening?
This is a game. It's the game where I put my penis in you. It's fine.
God damn it, Chris.
It's just a game. Yeah, no, I agree. It's after like going back and looking at it, it's like that's kind of I mean, Trip obviously doesn't care, but it's pretty rapey.
Mm-hmm. She's just so dodgy about it in like a deliberate way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they telepathically link and guess each other's favorite foods, and we find out her name is Alan, or Alan. I'm just gonna call her Alan.
Was it Alan? Oh my god, I don't remember that. That's funny.
It was like Alan, or they said it weird, but it's Alan.
It was Alan.
Alan. Yeah, it's Alan. Her name's Alan.
Okay. Hey, no judgment.
So anyway, Trip is knocked up at this point, but he just doesn't know it yet. I know you all know this.
My next note is he wrist nipple.
Right. So Trip returns. This is a great trip. Everything was awesome. Hold up. I got some wrist nipples now.
Wrist nipple.
Dude, at first I thought they were going to say it was some sort of STD. I did not expect the word nipple to come out of Flox's mouth.
That's right. You haven't seen this episode yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in at his trip to what I like to call Flox BGYN.
Can we? I'm sorry. I have to point out the bench on the MRI and the Enterprise fucking moves. That
Dude,
thing
that was so cool.
Zipped across the goddamn room with Trip on it. Like, he better have been holding the fuck on, or he's gonna fly off that goddamn thing.
Oh gosh. So anyway, we go through this whole thing where Trip finds out he's pregnant. Males are just hosts to the female embryos in what is it, Zerillian biology. And T'Pol starts giving him shit over,
Oh, T'Pol is so disappointed.
Yeah. She got jokes.
Yeah.
She
got
fucking
jokes.
hilarious. I have 3 separate notes about how fucking hilarious she was that whole sequence.
Yeah. That was honestly pretty good. That's one of the reasons this was my favorite episode so far, is because this was a genuinely funny scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Disregarding all the rapey bits of the last part.
Yeah, my favorite comment was, first Archer trying to withhold his laughter through the whole bit, and T'Pol bringing up how Trip was going to have to go meet Alan's parents.
No, that's right. Did she perhaps take you to meet her holographic parents? Fuck.
Yeah, T'Pol had some jokes this run, and it was good. It was good.
Holy shit, she was fucking killing me.
So anyway, Trip swears we just took a ride on a rowboat. That was it. My pain didn't come out at all. I was a perfect gentleman. But, that stupid sexy box of pebbles. I tell you what, they get you in trouble every time.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go through the whole fun Trip is pregnant spiel, and and he's nesting and trying to make everything more safe. And,
all right.
Which,
all
by
right.
the way, that lift was a death trap. I will agree with him 100%.
I'm sorry. Who wouldn't put their hand on that handrail?
Right?
Like, that's
have you
clearly
met a
what
human?
it's there for. That guy's like,
Have you
why would
met
you
a
put your
human?
hand there?
They called it a handrail.
It literally.
Like, what else would it possibly be for?
It's for you to look at and wish you could put your hand on it, but know that you can't.
It's an aspirational handrail.
Exactly. So Trip is paranoid. He's emotional. He's getting more wrist nipples. At one point,
putting
Archer
on
tells
weight.
him, yeah, he's putting on weight. He's shoveling food into his face. At one point, Archer tells him to hide his bulge, though not the original Trip bulge that we get from the first episode. This is the new bulge. We start going on and on about his possible postnatal responsibilities, and then, saved by the bell, they found the Zerillian ship. Unfortunately, it's, cruising with the Klingons at this point, and as we all know, Klingons be ornery. They are very shoot first, talk later, and that's how they decide to initiate the conversation with, torpedoes, or whatever they call those things that they shoot.
Was it torpedo? It was either a torpedo or the disruptors are like their phaser shot things.
It wasn't disruptors. I know that. Yeah,
I think it was
definitely
just a torpedo.
Yeah, a torpedo. Archer clearly doesn't know how to talk to Klingons because he tries to be all human about it. And then T'Pol decides to lay out the Archer's honorable deeds and maybe fudges the details a little bit.
Yeah, Klingons respect name dropping above all else.
They do. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they convince the Klingons, hey, they've got this sweet, holodeck technology. We just, we want to put our engineer in there with you. And they're like, no. So the cat's out of the bag, Trip is pregnant, and the Klingons laugh their ass off at him.
The Klingons laugh their asses off at them. I think my favorite part of the diplomacy of the humans here is, hey, give these guys your tech or they'll kill you.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
That's some solid diplomacy right there. So they get back on the Zerillian ship, which I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get a Klingon Trip decompression scene. I feel like there was some comedy there that was missed out on.
Just like you only need 30 seconds, maybe less, of just like Trip looking kind of nervous, and then it cuts to the three Klingons sitting shoulder to shoulder, just glaring at him silently, and that's the whole cut. Would have been incredible.
No, they should have been like chuckling, but like not making eye contact.
Or actually, yeah, that would be funny too. Or if you want to do it really good, at the beginning, you have them like glaring at each other. And then like you cut to 3 hours later and they're all drunk and laughing with each other, including Trip.
That would be a classic Klingon scene.
That would be fucking incredible.
So they get in, as you mentioned, Trip says, give him the stuff or they're going to kill you. They get a nice little holodeck tour. He says, I can see my house from here.
Which is a perfectly, like, that's a great line. Yeah. I do appreciate that their topographical surveys of Kronos, like, include people wandering around and
I thought that was pretty good, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the Klingons are big jerks, but they agree. They eventually let the Zerillians go. And then Trip has the come to Jesus moment with old Alan. Reveals that he's pregnant. Luckily, it's not. It hasn't been long enough where they can transplant the baby onto another host. I don't know who they're going to transplant it onto, but hey, they take the baby out. Everything is fine at the end. No consequences.
Yay!
All right, we need to take a break. We'll be right back.
Folks, welcome back. We've now moved on to our discussion period of the podcast, and today's topic will be holodeck episodes. Since this is
fuck.
theoretically, yes, theoretically.
God, I hate hate holodeck episodes so much.
Well, you beat me to my first question,
What?
Stanford. That was my first question. Do you like holodeck episodes?
I like them.
Somehow I knew that, Rob.
So clearly you don't. What is the reasons for your dislike of holodeck episodes?
I guess like the problem I have with holodeck episodes is that we're trying to do the best of, like, we're trying to have our cake and eat it too, where it's like, are we doing a sci-fi show or are we doing a fucking mobsters flick? Like, what's the goal here? I don't find that they ever do anything useful for the show. I don't think that holodeck episodes ever usually cover any kind of interesting like commentary or anything. I will say the only one I can think of that I actually did enjoy was the ones out of Voyager where it was like black and white. Because they were like stuck there and there was like an alien sentience like in the holodeck and using it as a way to communicate. Shit like that's interesting to me. There was an episode of TNG where the holodeck was gaining sentience in a weird way and they were trying to teleport him out, but it turned out Geordi was just like trapped in there or some shit. Like that's fine. That doesn't bother me. But the goddamn like, we're going to be mobsters this week. It's just like, for fuck's sake, can we not?
So while I understand what you're saying, I would argue, especially in your kind of mid-range treks, so, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, when you were dealing with seasons that were 25 episodes long, the holodeck episode was a enjoyable amuse-bouche of something else. It was a break from the serious. It was a break from the examination of society's problems through the scientific lens. It's just fun. It's a nice little vacation from the normal show. That's why I generally like holodeck episodes.
Yeah, the other thing I tend to really enjoy about them is it brings a more human element back into the show, where like you can see what people's likes and dislikes are aside from them like just being in their job.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So I understand your point, but I think that it relies on a fundamental concept that doesn't exist, which is that like the 25 episodes of Star Trek is not the only goddamn TV you're watching. If I want a break from Star Trek, I'll watch something else. I'm watching Star Trek to watch Star Trek.
That's an interesting point. And I see where you're coming from, but looking at it through today's lens, how do we generally consume content, especially stuff that's older series? We binge it, right? You're usually watching the show over and over again. And it'll break it up more.
Fuck you. No. It's not that I don't binge. It's that I don't think that's a valid. That's a valid.
Well, argument. I don't think you're valid. So there.
That's
no. I think that is valid because you have to cater your content to what the audience, what their habits are and what their tastes are.
That's fine, but the problem is that none of the modern Star Treks are doing the fucking holodeck episodes.
So.
Because none of these ones would like had streaming binging like as part of their audience back in like, the early 2000s.
Well, with Discovery and Strange New Worlds, I don't think that those ships have holodecks. Fucking
Strange New Worlds, goddamn fucking fantasy bullshit episode.
So that was going to get my point. It did not have a holodeck in it, but that by all means was 100% a holodeck episode.
The spirit, yes, yeah.
It was a great episode.
Yeah, yes. I don't know.
Come on. It was awesome.
We will get to it eventually.
You liked it.
Yeah, in the year 3027. Like the fuck.
We will get to it.
Actually, well, I guess Strange New Worlds is actually not that far off because it's going to be Discovery. It's going to, we got like 8 seasons of shit before then, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's especially, and I will say, like, my issue is more that I don't think that we learn anything useful about the characters that we can't learn in their normal situations. And actually, Strange New Worlds episode is a good example of this because the characters are deliberately different than themselves. And so we're not learning anything useful about the characters at that point.
But it was fun.
But like, I can go watch a fun show elsewhere.
But you got to see Star Trek fun.
Look, I like Captain Daddy as much as the next guy, but I don't need to see him being a little, like, coward.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. So anyway,
too.
You hate it. We both like it. Let's
that made
get
you lose.
Yeah, clearly.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm outvoted. Fuck me.
This is a democracy.
Just wait till we talk about the Borg.
You mentioned a point where you don't learn about the characters in a meaningful way in them for the most part, which I can kind of understand. And there are other ways that you can get the characters out of their jobs, their old normal everyday jobs, and still do that, which I think DS9 does actually pretty well. I think more so than any of the other Star Treks of the era.
Can I ask a clarification? Mm-hmm. When we say holodeck episodes, we mean the ones where, like, the episode is the characters are role-playing different people for the majority or the entire length of the episode, right? So, like, for example, there was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Geordi was just in the holodeck running simulations for most of the episode with, like, this AI that he was kind of made. Like, that's not counted, right? Or, like, when Kim and Tuvok in Voyager just went to go visit some resort and some off time in the holodeck. I would say that
the main conflict has to happen in the holodeck.
Okay, and well, because my issue is the role-playing parts, like the ones where they're pretending to be other people. Those are the ones I don't like. I don't mind if, like, the setting of that particular episode just happens to be in the holodeck. I don't like it when they're like.
How do you feel about acting in general then?
Wait, I don't understand your question. Oh, no. Wait, no, these aren't real people?
What
do you mean?
Disguised as another dude.
But, like, yeah, that's my point, though. Like, I don't need to watch fucking Brett Spiner pretend, like, do a good job acting about a guy who is pretending to be shitty at acting. Like, that's not fun for me.
Okay, so what is your favorite holodeck episode?
So I have to pick one, huh? You
have to
go
pick
first,
one.
Rob.
Oh boy. To be honest, I don't really remember the specifics about a whole lot of them. I did like the bits in TNJ where they're on, like, the HMS Enterprise.
The next jam? TNJ?
The next jamboree.
We were talking about stupid TNJ before the meeting. TNG. When they're on the HMS Enterprise. Was that part of one of the movies? I don't
That was the beginning of First Contact.
Yeah.
No, wait. Was that First Contact? No, I'm sorry. That was Generations.
Yeah,
yes.
Generations.
Yes, because Worf was getting promoted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I guess that one doesn't count. I'm going to go with the... I really like seeing Picard play, like, detective noir. I don't know why that was fun.
So the ones that Stanford just said he hated it the most.
Yep, that's my favorite.
Okay. Stanford?
Probably, wow, favorite holodeck episode. So it might be those black and white Voyager ones, because those were fun. But can I count the Mirror Universe Enterprise episodes? Because those have the same spirit as a holodeck episode, and they are probably my favorite.
I'll allow it.
Awesome. So I'm going to go with those. Rob, you haven't seen these yet. They're fucking incredible. It's like this pair of episodes that are just
incredibly bad.
They're so fucking great. They're almost as good as the opening title song of this show.
Favorite holodeck episode for me, I generally liked the Data is Sherlock Holmes episodes from Next Generation, especially the ones where Moriarty gained sentience.
Fuck. Oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
That is the one you were describing before. Yeah, it's the Moriarty gained sentience. Brett Spiner, a hilarious Sherlock Holmes. Brett Spiner as Data as Sherlock Holmes. That's an interesting one.
Oh, you know what was another fun holodeck thing was when the Doctor on Voyager wrote that holodeck novel that everyone went through and they were all assholes in.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was fucking funny too.
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh gosh.
TNG actually opens up in the holodeck. That's how Data is introduced.
I'm trying to remember now.
I don't remember.
I honestly, when I'm watching The Next Generation, I generally don't watch the first season.
Yeah, you'll hate it because it immediately breaks all of the things you know about the holodeck because it was like the first scene, and so they didn't know what they were doing.
I do recall this.
Yeah, he like throws a rock and it hits the wall, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's a holodeck," and it's like, "Wait, what?"
Like the only thing I really genuinely remember about the holodeck in TNG was it was a huge deal. And they had it installed because their mission was so long.
Right.
And they knew that their people weren't going to be able to take shore leave.
Mm-hmm. And there were families on board. And
yeah, I don't remember it having that much of it, like an explicit explanation, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and that's why they had 10 forward.
Yeah, like, and part, like, the concepts of the holodeck is one of those things that's like, I don't understand why it's not used more properly in other parts of the show. Like in Voyager, Paris and Tuvok like designed a shuttlecraft in there. And like, yeah, that's exactly what you should be using the fucking holodeck for, you know?
Well, I mean, Geordi, as you mentioned before, he used it as a
100% to run simulations. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what? Thinking back, one of the recent series that we like, was it Discovery or Strange New Worlds? Didn't they have like a phaser training course in hologram?
I think it was. There was. I don't know about those. That did remind me though of a scene from Next Generation. I think it was Next Generation, where there was like a exercise where they were like shooting little like holographic targets and stuff like that.
All right.
That kind of concept, like the training simulation, has existed in a couple of different shows.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be a holodeck, but
right. Fucking holodeck episodes, man. Can I just watch some goddamn Star Trek?
Which you totally like, by the way.
I do. I swear I like Star Trek.
All right, folks. Well, after this break, we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, to Section 3 of this week's Captain's Log Supplemental. This week, we are going to continue the time-honored internet tradition of tier lists.
Oh, boy.
Oh, shit.
So, I would like to cover the topic of Star Trek movie tier lists.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Am I going to be the only one who can actually do this?
No, so I reviewed the movies after, not actually rewatched them. But I refreshed my memory on them and the major plot points after we were talking about it a couple weeks ago.
Rob emerged from isolation watching 48 hours straight of Star Trek movies.
Oh god, I don't think anyone would survive that. All right, so I guess we'll just go through these chronologically. Does that sound good to you guys? Okay,
and so because I am not an expert on tier listing, if I understand it correctly, the best is S because we have to go pseudo-Japanese because JRPGs and anime have infiltrated all things.
Yeah,
and then it goes A, B, C, D, F?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. There's no D.
There's no D.
There's no E.
There's no E. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we throwing in plus and minuses here? Or?
Oh, God,
no, absolutely not.
No,
there's not enough of them.
I don't have the attention span for pluses and minuses.
Okay.
There's not enough of them to warrant it.
Well, how many are there? How many are we doing the other universe with the J.J. Abrams ones too?
Yeah. There's 13 total.
There's got to be more than that. 13? They only made it to 10 on the old 13. Ones?
So with the original series, you had everything up through Undiscovered Country.
6, which is 6, right? Then
Yep.
7,
Then you had the 4
8,
TNG.
9, 10. Yeah, okay. No.
Yep.
Wait,
That's right.
Nemesis,
No.
Insurrection, and...
First
First
Contact,
Contact and Generations.
Is there not another TNG movie in there? Oh,
Nope.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the 3 Kelvin timeline.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. I'm with you so far. All right. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So the original Star Trek the motion picture.
I'm gonna. Are we gonna try to come to a consensus here? Is that the plan? I submit C for that. Like, I appreciate that it was the first movie and that it was trying to be what it was, but I don't find it that entertaining. I've watched it a couple times and I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I looked up a little bit of the history on each one of these and like the production behind it. They went like massively over budget and almost didn't even make the timeline for their premiere in this one.
Do you know why they made this movie?
I do not.
Oh God, this is fascinating. So, Roddenberry wanted to do another TV show, Next Generation, but the studio was like, "No, fuck you. How about a movie?" And so he converted his TNG pilot concepts into this movie. So actually, if you watch the movie and start relating things, you'll find a lot of very strange parallels between the characters that are introduced in the first movie and the characters from TNG. There's
interesting.
I think that the hotshot is named Stryker in the movie. That's Riker. And then there's the android woman that's Data. It's these weird parallels.
Oh yeah. Oh, Decker, Captain Decker. That's you.
Decker. That's right, Decker.
Yeah, the dude who Kirk gets demoted so that he can command the Enterprise for the movie.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I'm gonna go with C on that one.
Okay.
So I honestly have not seen this movie. So
would it help if I give a brief synopsis of each of these, Chris?
Jesus, we don't have time for that.
No. I'll go with C because that probably sounds about right.
Okay. I would also put this one as a C. I feel like that's being generous for the content, but it is important historically. All right. Next up, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
I don't want to be this guy, but I'm going to have to put that one in immediate S tier.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Fucking goddamn, what a great movie. Just Ricardo Montalban just chewing every goddamn scene in the one character where that's completely appropriate. Goddamn, what a good movie.
It's funny too. A couple of the websites that I looked at when I was researching this, they all credit The Wrath of Khan as saving Star Trek as a franchise.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Wrath of Khan. I mean, that was the first honest Star Trek that I had watched ever was Wrath of Khan. So,
interesting.
100%. Yeah, S tier.
I remember the first time I saw Wrath of Khan, I was in it's not a basement. My grandparents had a split level house, and it was on the lower level in the den area. I remember watching it with my dad and my grandfather.
Yeah, I watched it with my dad in Kansas City. Probably my mom too. Actually, she likes Star Trek.
Plus, some dude yells "God,
God," and you can the repeat.
Launched 1,000 memes.
Sure.
God damn. God.
Decades later, it's impressive. It's impressive, really.
And it's it's got a good pace. It's a good story. It's tight narratively. Yeah. It's just a good movie. It's a good movie.
So when I was looking this one up, this is the point where the studio basically kicks Roddenberry out of a job. I forget if it's this one or the original movie. At some point, he pitched the idea of the Enterprise crew having to go back to ensure the death of JFK to maintain the timeline, and they're like, "This is a bad idea," and just gave him an executive producer job, and that was pretty much the end of any hope he had of directing.
and then he went and consulted on Umbrella Academy.
So, yeah.
So,
weird.
Probably the best thing that's ever happened to Star Trek. kicking Gene
Star
Roddenberry
Trek-
out of creative control.
Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
I'm going to be that guy again and immediately put this in the F tier. I fucking hated that movie.
Really?
Oh my god, Search
Okay.
for Spock is such a shit movie. For all of the same reasons. The pacing is wrong, the story is not good, the narrative isn't tight, it's just loose and floppy. It's just not a good movie. It's a little pandery in a way I don't care for too. It's just not a good film.
Pandery to whom?
To people who are like, Spock can't be dead, meh.
I don't know if I put it in F tier, but I would say probably C tier for this one. It was fine.
C, Jesus Christ.
I was also leaning towards C, if only for the fact that you get to see Christopher Lloyd play a Klingon.
Oh, was that this one? I couldn't remember
That's
where
this
Christopher
one.
Lloyd was.
Yeah.
Oh man, Christopher Lloyd might like barely bootstrap it up to a D, but I cannot fucking suffer that movie. I do not like it.
Man. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
My gut's a B.
So
Better than the first movie, not as good as Khan, and it's all right.
I think I go C for this one, only because I think it was a fun movie, but I don't think it was a good Star Trek movie.
Oh, really? It
I
almost
feel
like
like-
almost like it was like a holodeck episode. Bringing it back around.
That's a fair criticism. I'll own that one.
Oh god, I gotta agree with Stanford on this one. I feel like this is a B. I really like this, if only because it's so iconic.
If I remember correctly, and this is me remembering trivia from a fucking decade ago, but Leonard Nimoy directed 3 and 4. And 4 was the movie he wanted to make, but they made him direct 3 first. And he didn't want to make it, which is part of the reason why it sucked. But 4, he wanted to direct a non-violent, because he was like a big pacifist like proponent. And so he wanted to direct a non-violent Star Trek movie. So like in 4, no phasers are shot at anybody. There's no ship-to-ship stuff.
There's also no real antagonist in this film either.
Correct. They are
Well,
struggling against a concept, not a person.
No. There's like a cylindrical spaceship thing that shows up over Earth and starts
But that's not like it's
causing
not like evil.
dramatic climate change.
Right,
They're
but
trying to kill everyone on the planet.
Right, but
Like at
But
one
they're-
point they
but they're-
completely block out the sun.
I
only
think-
see it at the beginning, the very beginning, and the very end of the movie.
and it is purposefully a faceless like inevitability that humanity is facing, a la climate change, is kind of his point there, right? Like it's not that the aliens were specifically trying to kill the humans. That's not what they were doing. They're simply it's the humans who are the problem because the humans killed the whales. That's
You know what?
why we're dying.
I'm gonna
were your
change
own
my
worst
answer.
enemy.
I'm gonna change my answer B tier because I liked what it was as a movie.
Okay.
Plus, what's her face hitting the cloaked bird of prey in the park was fucking brilliant cinematography.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
And I love Birds of Prey. It's my favorite Star Trek like ship. So the fact that so much of it took place on one was just a real tickle for me.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Star Trek: The Final Frontier.
Excuse me, but what does God need with a starship? Fucking God, that movie. D.
yeah, definite D tier.
Like it had some moments that were fine. It's fine. It's just not a good film. I thought the concept was silly. I thought Sarek, is that Spock's brother?
Sarek.
I thought-
Sybok.
Oh, brother. Yeah, okay.
No, Sarek is the father. Sybok is the
Sybok.
Sybok.
I can't
Half-brother.
believe I remember any of those fucking names. Sybok. Sybok's whole character I found to be kind of obnoxious.
This is also the only one directed by William Shatner.
Oh, God, why am I not surprised?
All right. It is a consensus that Star Trek The Final Frontier, D tier.
That's generous,
Right,
if I'm being honest.
Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
So, I saw this one in the movie theater, I think. This was like the first one I saw in the movie. I could be mistaken. I know I saw Generations in the movie theater. I'm pretty sure this is the first one I actually saw in the movie theater in Kansas City.
91 was the release, if it helps.
Then yes, it is. Yes. So I just wasn't sure because if it was after 90, then the answer was yes, because that was when I was starting to go to movies and stuff. My first movie in the movie theater, by the way, Land Before Time.
Me too.
I have.
Me three.
Oh God! Wouldn't it be weird if we were all in the same movie, like at the same time? Although I was in Kansas City, but this one has kind of a special place in my heart. I do like the movie. I would say, to be as objective as possible, I would probably put it in a B tier. If I'm using a lot of my nostalgia to grade it, I would jump it up to an A. I liked Star Trek 6.
I also like this. So this one I remember I watched with a friend of mine growing up that like I think I met him in the Boy Scouts. Like we watched this at his house and this might have been one of the first introductions I had to Star Trek. Cuz like I got started late.
I think a fun fact of this one is Michael Dorn appears as his future character's grandfather.
Does he really?
Oh, I didn't realize
missed
that.
Yep.
Sulu is badass in this one.
Yeah. I really
He's
like
on
the Excelsior.
Intrepid or whatever. The Excelsior.
Yeah, that was a cool design.
I think B tier is right for this one.
Okay.
I would agree. B tier it is. All right, now we move into next generation territory. Star Trek Generations.
I feel like I have to put this in D. I don't think I could in good faith go above C. I don't think I can actually get it even up to C. I think it's a D movie. It's not good, which is too bad because I love Ian McDowell in this movie so much. Mm-hmm. But it's not a good movie.
I have to agree. It's definitely D tier for me.
Although watching the Enterprise fucking nosedive into that planet, so I'm in the movie theater.
That was cool.
And that's happening, and like it's like an extended, long, loud cut, and then finally it kind of settles, and I'm like, and like the movie theater is silent, and I'm like 8 or 9, I guess 10 or 11 at this point, and I went cool, and everyone in the movie theater started laughing their asses off.
It was a cool scene, especially for as far as effects and I think impact of what it meant for the series and the show and those characters. Right. I think that is a cool scene, but overall, yeah, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
See, I remember being super excited when like Picard winds up in that dream and he runs into Kirk. Like I don't know. I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, see, I didn't cool because the original series was never my thing anyways. So I was like, oh, it's that old guy who's in those movies I kind of like sometimes.
All right, we'll put it in D tier. I was going to put it in C. So you guys will put it down to D. Bringing the grade down.
Are you actually writing these down somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, good. Because then we can put them in the notes.
All right. Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, God. I can't. Oh, man. My brain is telling me it can't possibly be as good as I remember. I must have watched this movie a dozen or more times when I was a kid. I have to put it in A at least. Yeah. I fucking love First Contact.
Honestly, I was waffling between A and S tier.
Movie.
It is so good.
Such a good movie.
Picard.
Oh, man. You broke your little ships.
Yeah.
It's so good.
The line must be drawn here. No further.
I love the whole bit, like where they're in Montana and they're running to Cochrane for the first time. Like it's just so good. Like all of this just felt like it was a very Star Trek movie, and I felt like
some of honestly the best performances of those characters in
Absolutely.
any of the next generation.
Absolutely. And some of the best supporting actors.
Yes,
for
100%. Mhm.
Yeah. Plus, Neelix's character was fucking hilarious.
I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in there. The doctor from Voyager was in there. You know what? Fuck you. It's our podcast. S tier. S tier for fucking
S
first
tier.
contact.
Definite S
All
tier.
right. First
God,
Have we
fucking
put
love
anything
S
in actual A tier yet? Or has it just been S,
Not
B,
yet.
C, and D? Okay.
No, you know what? A is probably going to start being the Kelvin ones because I don't think anything after first contact is going to make it above C.
That's probably accurate. All right. Star Trek Insurrection.
I'm gonna have to say D. It was not a good movie.
Yeah.
Do you even remember it? Like, do either of you even remember that shit movie?
Yeah, I feel like you hate it because it was basically one giant holodeck movie.
No, not like Voyage Home was.
No.
But yes, they had the holodeck ship, and they were transporting the people, which actually I thought was kind of clever.
It was.
So that was actually kind of clever because they also had the phasers that disrupted holograms for a little bit. Like that was pretty clever. But the concepts of the movie were not good. It was poorly executed. There was a lot of like badly timed jokes. It felt, you know what it felt like? It felt very boomery. Like it felt like Cocoon, if Cocoon was a Star Trek movie. Like oh, we're all getting our youth back, huzzah! Like okay,
I would think I would agree with you. I would probably place this in D tier.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Next up, Star Trek Nemesis.
F tier. Next.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Chris, any arguments?
It's F tier, although I will point out, I did not realize this till I looked it up. Frickin' Tom Hardy was the clone of, like, how?
What?
What was he, 12?
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
He looked prepubescent in that movie. That's Tom Hardy?
That's Tom Hardy.
Not.
100%.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
You know, if he talked like Bane through the whole movie, I probably would like it better. It's like, you just adopted the Romulan Empire. I was born to it.
All right. Jumping forward into back time, Star Trek, the original Kelvin.
So I would say A, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say S, but I very, very much like this movie.
So, and this is honestly a theme for all of the Kelvin Timeline movies. Is they're all good movies. What I don't think they are is necessarily good Star Trek.
I would agree with that.
Don't think that, like, I that's fine, but, you know, if we're going to say that that's the criteria that's going to hold it back, like, that's a criteria you gotta lay on at the beginning, right? Like, because that's, you're not wrong, but like my guess is, like, my personal rubric for this kind of tier list is like, would I watch the movie again and enjoy it?
Fair enough. Like I said,
yeah, they're good movies. I've watched them at least 6 or 7 times each because those are the kind of movies we'll just put on when we got nothing else to do.
They're fun sci-fi action movies. They're very like Star Wars in that sense, I would say.
Oh man, their soundtracks all kick ass too.
100%. I totally agree. Good movies.
Yeah, and
no argument there.
Chris Pine is delicious. Oh no, they're good movies. I don't think it's as transcendent as number 2 or First Contact, but I do think that the first one is definitely A for Kelvin.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Yeah, I will third that. All right, Star Trek Into Darkness.
B. I love that. I'm having a hard time criticizing. I like these movies. I really enjoyed them. I liked Leonard Nimoy's input on this one, where he's like, I have sworn to never like interrupt this timeline because that would be unfair, or yada, yada, yada. That being said, Khan's a fucking dick. Kill him immediately.
Yeah,
I'll say B tier for this one.
I would agree with that.
I know a lot of people weren't happy with them remaking the Khan series, and I do understand that, like, Like, can we not harp on the same shit? Let's do something new. But by the same token,
Yeah.
I'm like, they did do something kind of new. It was fun. Yeah, they kind of made death completely unimportant anymore because apparently you just got to inject Khan's fucking blood into you and you got death. You're cured of death, whatever. But like, that's still fucking fun. Watching Quinto running on those things. Like, oh no, I had a great time.
Yep.
I think that speaks to what Chris was talking about. Where like they are excellent movies, maybe not necessarily excellent Star Trek movies, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I have watched it again since I saw it in theaters. Like, I think B is fair. All right, and then last but not least, Star Trek Beyond.
I might just say B for this one too. I liked it. I mean, it's good.
I'd say B. I'd say it's probably my least favorite of the three, but B. If I could put a B minus, I would put a B minus.
Shut your goddamn mouth.
No, Midas is Christopher. Yeah, B. I think B's fair. I think B's fair there. I would definitely watch Into Darkness before I rewatch Beyond. But,
I've seen all of them a few times. They're all I fucking love them. Are they're making a fourth, aren't they? Isn't that like happening right now?
They are. Yeah, it was announced it's in pre-production, or maybe they started filming already. I can't remember. But yeah, this one will always stick out in my mind just because of that Beastie Boys scene.
Is this classical music? Yes, Doctor, I do believe it is. It's fucking
Yeah.
Which, like,
That was
that's
great.
one of those things where it's like, all right, Beastie Boys, I get it because it was in the first movie and then in the second movie, like whatever. But like, it is fun. It's fun.
Yeah, no, that was a good callback. That was smart filmmaking.
Yes, yeah, it's fun.
All right, and that brings us to the end of the list. So I guess I'll just run through these in terms of tiers real quick for everybody. So in S tier, we put Wrath of Khan and Star Trek First Contact.
I wonder if we handed this tier list to somebody if they could guess our age. Because like when you put First Contact that high,
yeah.
I bet you're within a 5-year like birth window.
That would not surprise me.
It's a good movie.
The single A that we have was Star Trek, from the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, which is just called Star Trek. Yep, because the other first
Yep.
Star Trek is Star Trek TMP.
Yep. B tiers were Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, and Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, and Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond.
Wow, I
That's a lot
put
of Star
okay.
Trek.
All right, yeah, all right.
C-
I don't disagree. Okay.
I averaged out our answers between the three of us.
Right, no, it's just interesting. Like now hearing them at the end summarized like this is like interesting that I'm like in my brain. It's like, oh, okay, I put 4 and 6 and the 2 later Kelvins in the same tier. And that feels about right when I compare them like that. Like they all feel about that good.
Yeah. C tier was Star Trek The Motion Picture. Search for Spock. D tier was The Final Frontier.
Wait, Search for Spock was C? Fuck you.
What?
No.
Wait, you put Search for Spock in C?
Search for Spock was C tier. I said C, Chris said C, you said B.
F, which means we're averaging D at least.
F? Oh, you know what? You are right.
God, I fucking
mistaken.
hate that movie.
All right. So lining up D tier then would be The Search for Spock, The Final Frontier, Generations, and Insurrection.
Yep, that sounds
And
all
then
about right.
the lonely rock at the bottom of the F hole would be Nemesis,
Ooh, the F hole. Ew.
which
Ew.
I found out, by the way, after looking at all these. Nemesis is universally hated by the entire fan base and film critics alike.
Because
That's
it's
funny.
a terrible movie.
It's not a good movie. Do you know about the even odd rule?
No.
So the rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor. The concept of the original Star Trek movies was that there's this thing called the even odd rule, where the odd movies were terrible and the even movies were fantastic. So like the even movies were like Wrath of Khan, Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country, First Contact, and then Nemesis ruined it all.
No, man. No, because look. So in order, we gave Motion Picture C, Wrath of Khan S. Spock was a D. Voyage Home was a B. Final Frontier was a D. Undiscovered Country was a B. Then, starting with the TNGs, we've got Generations with a D, First Contact with an S,
Right.
Insurrection with a D. Oh, Nemesis F. Yeah,
and then
okay,
Nemesis is F. Like you,
Yep.
you know, your
fucked it
pattern
up.
existence. Your pattern existed until Nemesis, then it ruined it, and then Kelvin came and made everything awesome. All right, this has gone way too long. So, anyone got any final
so
thoughts?
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All right, I will put that tier list in our notes somehow. And that way everyone can judge the shit out of us on that.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Next week we are doing season 1, episode 6. So we will see you then. Have a good night.
Bye-bye, folks. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.